morning, traders. I'm Emily Vani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Wednesday, October 22nd. Today's moves follow a record-setting day for the Dow yesterday, even as the broader markets ended mixed but nearly flat. On the back of solid earnings, the Dow climbed 218 points to end near the 47,000 mark. The S&P 500 ended the session near flatline, adding just about a quarter of a point. The Nasdaq gave up 36 points. But let's get into today's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, yes, good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. We're flat. I mean, we're up 0.03. We're down 0.03. We're essentially flat. It's flat. It's directionless this morning because we're waiting on, a good catalyst. Last night we did get those earnings from Netflix, and that was the big catalyst that everybody was waiting for. And guess what? They didn't come in. The report wasn't bad. But they missed. They delivered a big miss, and the reason why was because they got a tax dispute with the country of Brazil, which is causing them to miss earnings this quarter. Their guidance was not as detailed as normal, but that stock's trading off this morning. So that Netflix thing was a bit of a shocker. In geopolitical news, listen, there's a lot going on here. I mean, you got the U.S. and India said to be in talks about lowering tariff rates from 50% down to 15%. That would be a big boom. You have the shutdown still in effect. Republicans are very holding firm, saying they're not going to talk to Democrats until the government is reopened. No discussions. Well, that just loses them any clout if they agree to that. I mean, it's I'm taking my ball and leaving. I mean, that's if the Democrats fold, the Republicans aren't going to move forward with it. And they're going to say, well, they never should have agreed to this, and so I don't see them reopening the government anytime soon. President Trump and Putin, they're not going to meet anymore. They were kind of tentatively scheduled to meet, I think, in Hungary, but that's off. But there is a call today that he's participating in with NATO. Defense stocks are trading a little higher in Europe. Wouldn't be surprised to see the same here in the U.S. The DOE, the Department of Energy, they released plans to refill the strategic reserve. That's a positive for oil. On the earnings front, MCO, VRT, Hilton, HLT, they're all moving higher after their earnings reports. After the bell today, you got Tesla, you got IBM, you got URI, LVS, LUV, LRCX, and Package Corp of America, ticker PKG, all scheduled to report after the bell. And then kind of taking a look over at global markets, we're looking at the DAX. The DAX is essentially flat. I mean, it's down 0.06% or 14 points. You're seeing a little weakness in tech, which makes sense. But defense stocks are positive because, the Trump-Putin meeting is pushed off. So that's elevating the tensions over there. So, yeah, defense stocks rallying, something like that. The FTSE in London is up 87 points. It's 0.93%. I mean, the UK inflation data came in much lower than expected. We're seeing gains in banking, mining sector are also positive. In France is down 0.18%. Luxury stocks are, moving lower after, some earnings reports that hit the tape this morning. Turn your attention over to Asia. And Asia was lower. I will have to say Asia was lower. But it wasn't. But it kind of feels positive. I mean, you look at the Nikkei. The Nikkei dropped, 1.4% at the opening. It was all profit taking, but it rallied back and it finished down 8 points or 0.02%. So that's a nice rally back. The rebound, is kind of due to the prime minister, the incoming prime minister, who was expected to unleash a new wave of fiscal measures and accommodation to monetary policies. So, yeah, Nikkei's down, but I still think it was a positive day overall. Then you look at the Hang Seng in Hong Kong, which was lower by 0.94%. Weakness was in the metals. Metals markets were weakening in Hong Kong. In China, the Shanghai finished lower by 0.07%. Tech and material stocks underperformed, but it wasn't a major move. Was not a major move by any means. And then we're taking a look at oil this morning, and oil is showing gains. We got oil. We got WTI at $58.21 a barrel. That's up 1.69%. You got Brent trading at $62.30 a barrel. That's up 1.60% essentially. It's a couple of factors here. DOE planning to buy like 1 million barrels to refill the SPR, Strategic Petroleum Reserve. That's big. That buying is temporary, but it is still positive for oil prices. Then last night you had the API data that came out, which showed a draw of 2.98 million barrels for last week. And these tensions over Russia, now that that scheduled meeting between Trump and Putin is off. I mean that's escalating the tensions, and that's causing oil prices to move a little higher. So you got three kind of bullish catalysts, which together are helping to move oil prices higher this morning, Emily. But that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update.
And Bill, as you mentioned, markets are looking for direction this morning in lieu of sort of one big major catalyst, but you're really able to find direction, whether there is that big headline making catalyst or just a lot of details to be putting together as you've given us this overview in the opening. And one area where there is a lot of direction is earnings action. You pointed to some that have come out, some we're still anticipating, big name companies here that are certainly market movers. So Bill, let's start there. What's going on in terms of earnings action?
Well, you got to start off with Netflix, NFLX. I mean, listen, they missed by $1.10. They only met on revenue. You look at the stock this morning; it's down $90. That's 7.28%. I mean, I told you it could move like $100, and sure enough, we are seeing that weakness. And I can't take credit for the Brazilian issue because I didn't really expect that, but it is lower. It's lower, and $100 move would not be surprising at Netflix this morning. Then you got Texas Instruments TXN. They missed by a penny, but they did it on higher revenue. But they're a tech firm, and they're getting hit. They're down 7.65% this morning. You got BSX, which is trading higher. They beat by 4 cents on higher revenue. You got Moody's MCO. They beat by 24 cents on higher revenue. Stock's down 0.21% this morning. And then upcoming, you got a number of companies coming up like Tesla. I mean, their EPS is 53 cents. Expected move is 7.20%. Okay, we all know Tesla has been having weaker sales volumes because of an association with Elon Musk with Trump. But with those EV tax credits going away, which happened this quarter, I suspect that there was a rush to buy some EVs, and I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla actually has a positive report. They're expected to make 53 cents, and they expect to move at 7.20%. Keep an eye on it. IBM is also coming out after the bell, ticker IBM. Their EPS is $2.43. Expected move is 6.75% when they release. So yeah, there's a lot of good companies releasing, today and tomorrow morning. But a full report I sent out this morning in the morning notes. But keep an eye on Tesla and IBM for moves off of earnings this afternoon, Emily.
And Bill, morning notes are critical in a time like these because there's just such a plethora of earnings that keeping track of all of them is no small task. And you're able to do this using your NewsWare, gathering all these earnings report, anticipating them, then gathering the data as it hits the tape. I will make a note that Boston Scientific was your pick of the day yesterday, trading higher this morning, but we will do a full check-in on that pick by the end of the show. Now on to the day's economic events. Well, the government shutdown continues to be ongoing, sort of affecting the economic front here, and we're also in the Fed blackout period. So what is going on in terms of the day's economic events?
Yeah, we're still in the Fed blackout period, but you are going to hear from Fed Governor Michael Barr today at 4 p.m. I mean, he's likely not going to be talking about monetary policy, but he is scheduled to speak. But in terms of economic reports today, 10:30 a.m. we're going to get the EIA oil inventory report. That could be something there. We want to keep an eye on that one. Remember the API data came in and showed a draw, which is bullish for oil prices. We'll have to see if the EIA data matches that. One interesting thing that I noticed was, that they got that Atlanta Fed GDP now. According to their model, the U.S. economy is actually increasing, grew at 3.9 annual percent for the third quarter. Strong reading, conflicts with some expectations of an economic slowdown. They might not have all the data that they normally need to make this report. So, there's some questions on the quality of it, but it did show some positive action. And in terms of, the Fed, I mean, they're meeting the 28th and 29th of this month. And, the labor situation has been, the new jobs creation, it's continued to be, dragging on the economy. They don't have any new data, so they're really using the past data. And, you look at August, I mean, we had 22,000 jobs created, which is a lot lower than the 122 that we were getting earlier in the year. So, yeah, we're still expecting a Fed rate cut at the end of the month, this month, Emily. And that's what I have for you in terms of an economic update.
Continuing to watch that action as well, gathering clues on the economic front. And then you're still gathering clues on all other types of news, data, and information. You're looking for direction in things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news, and catalyst calls. You're able to group your stocks together like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks and track them in those groups, looking for trends on the trading day. So, Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
Just looking at my Dallas stocks, I got 15 higher, I got 13 lower, I got 2 unchanged. Okay, it's not a bad opening, but my FANG stocks are weakening. Google's seeing some gains, but everybody else is weakening there, and that's not really positive. That's not really a building block for a strong S&P opening this morning. S&Ps are currently up 0.06%. But you look at some of the news behind the tape, like Apple, ticker AAPL, down about 0.5% this morning. They're said to be slashing production on the new iPhone Air. And you know why they're doing it? Weak demand. This is their cheap model. Nobody wants to buy it. So, they're slashing production. Then you have Amazon. And the word is that this huge demand for energy to power the data centers is going to be a key focus for antitrust regulators in the near future. They're going to say, why do you have the right to soak up all this power? Google and Anthropic, Google Cloud and Anthropic, they're said to be in talks about a deal worth tens of billions. That's positive. That's why you're seeing Google showing outperformance. It's up over 2% this morning. Meta Platforms down 0.2%. But one of the things that I found interesting was they spent, out of all the tech firms, they spent the most in Q3 in lobbying U.S. Government officials. I mean, they spent over $5.8 million in the Q3. Let's see, Tesla recalling 13,000 U.S. vehicles over battery risks. That was announced this morning. Looking at Dow Jones 30 stock news. We got Boeing. They received an order for 9 CH-47F Block 2 Chinook helicopters from the U.S. Army. Merck, Johnson & Johnson, Trump administration is preparing new probes into U.S. pharmacy pricing. Apple's lawyers are attacking the EU over the Digital Market Act. That shouldn't surprise anyone. Ticker ALKS, Apple, Larry, Kilo, Sam, they're buying out, a pharmaceutical firm. Avendale Pharmaceuticals for up to $2.1 billion. ADVL, the buyout price is $18.50. So, it should trade about 10%, 20, probably go up to about $17.75. In terms of guidance news, Netflix sees Q4 coming in $5.45. Street estimates $5.43. What else do we see? Texas Instrument. Oh yeah, this wasn't good. Texas Instruments sees Q4 EPS coming in at $1.13 to $1.39. The street estimate has it at $1.40. That's a downtick. Moody's sees full year 2025 adjusted EPS $14.50 to $14.75. Street estimates at $14.12. That's a big uptick. Hilton Hotels, HTL, they see full year 2025 adjusted EPS $7.97 to $8.06. Street estimate had it at $7.79. Big uptick. Hilton, HLT. And then, we got some catalyst calls going on. Ticker TEAM, Tom, Edward, Apple, Michael, that's Allison Corporation. Citibank opened up a 90-day positive catalyst watch on the stock, TEAM. And that's what I have for you about news in the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. We've now made it to that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, what is the pick of the day today?
Got to go with Las Vegas Sands, ticker LVS, Larry Victor Sam. Earnings are out after the bell. EPS at 61 cents, and the expected move is 5.86%. Look at yesterday's call volume, 13,439 versus 10,454. The open interest, 175K to 102K. That's very positive. Now, major brokers have been raising price targets. Yeah, they are, like 10% higher than where the stock is at, so that's positive. In terms of an entry price, I want to get in $50 or under. I mean, I'd like to say $49.70, but I think it could trade 47.80 today. The bid's at 50. We got indications of some weakness at the opening, so I wouldn't be surprised if it does become a little weak towards the opening. And if I can get in around $50, give or take 15 cents, I think that would be a good entry price. And I think the stock could have a nice little pop on the earnings this afternoon after they release earnings today, Emily.
Another earnings play today, Bill. We will follow Las Vegas Sands along with you. And coming up, we will do that recap on yesterday's pick of the day, so stick with us. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our hot off the press segment. Bill, take it away.
Okay, what do we see here? Applied Digital APLD announced a $5 billion AI factory lease agreement. Fed floats plan with much smaller capital hikes for big banks. Walmart and Avery Dennison announced new RFID innovation for fresh categories. Interesting. Match, Tinder, they're expecting long-term benefits from their new face scanning feature. Activist Robbie Starbucks sues Google over claims of false AI info. See, B of A adjusted their U.S. One Focus list. OWL was removed from it. Tesla set for strong quarterly, fueled by a rush to get expiring U.S. EV tax credits. Yeah, that's what I said earlier. That's all I'm saying this morning.
Okay, Bill, before we get to trading midweek here, let's do that check-in on yesterday's pick of the day, which was Boston Scientific. As we pointed out earlier in the show, you did let us know during your earnings. They did beat expectations. The company posted an adjusted earnings per share of 75 cents ahead of consensus estimates of 71. Revenue reached $5.07 billion, and that was ahead of estimates of $4.97 billion and also represented a 20.3% increase from the same period last year. Organic revenue growth was 15.3%, and that was outpacing their guidance range of 12% to 14%. Solid report here, Bill, as you expected. How did your call work out?
Hey, my model works. BSX was a winner, 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 winner. You listen, the stock opened up at $99.83 and it fell down to $99.29. And I was just so happy because, I just felt that was a real discount. And the stock did close at $99.90. But, then I was looking at the stock in the post market last night, after around, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And it was at 101.50 on the bid. And so your 1% was there yesterday. But, this morning, the stock hit 105 already. I mean, it's trading in the 101.48 now. But it definitely was a much more than a 1% winner. So Boston Scientific BSX winner, winner, winner.
A win there, Bill, and we will check in with you tomorrow about today's Las Vegas Sands pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow and each weekday morning at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Bonney, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.